Hey, this is Wileen Benson, and you are on the Daily Gratitude Call, where we start every day in gratitude. Gratitude is the highest energy state that we can be in. It creates a frequency of positive vibration that attracts positive experiences into our lives. Hey everybody, this is Wileen Benson. This is our Daily Gratitude Call. Thank you for being on our call today. We have lots of people on the call today. Super excited for what we get to discuss and learn. We're going to be doing a silent private meditation in just a moment, a 90-second private silent meditation on gratitude for spacing. And I want to give just a little, I just have to say, there were so many things that were shared in our rounds of gratitude before we started the recording that, there were a lot of words that I could have chose, timing, lyrics, because a lot was mentioned about songs. I know Laura, I think, has mentioned before how if the spaces in between the notes is what really creates the music, because if you just had all the notes piled on top of each other, it would be this cacophony of, just like one note, one long note forever through the whole song if there weren't spaces. And how, amazing that spacing, and even spacing with the lyrics. Several people mentioned about artistic placement of words, hearing the right thing at the right time, words that praise God in songs, words that create dual meaning. When you hear a word, there's like a dual meaning to it, and how powerful that can be. Time and space. So there's a lot of things that were mentioned about like lyrics, songs, spacing of notes, and music, and just the way that words come together and everything. And so there were a lot of different words that I could use, but that word spacing was kind of what felt right for us to focus on today. So gratitude for spacing. And I've got the timer set for 90 seconds. And I'm just going to invite you to write down whatever comes to you during this 90-second private silent meditation, and then we'll share. Begin. All right. A couple of weeks ago, I think I even mentioned this on the gratitude call, that my inspired shortcut in my daily GPS was to start going to bed at 9 o'clock and to actually get 8 hours of sleep. Like, I probably hadn't had 8 hours of sleep. I mean, occasionally, I would get it. And especially like on vacation or something, but as a regular rule, I would go to bed late and I would get up early, and, usually like 5, 6, 7 hours, at 7 tops was my regular, consistent method. And that inspired shortcut, I took it to heart and was really committed to that. And it was a little bit difficult for me to break that habit of going to bed late. But I noticed that, and I started going to bed at 9 o'clock. I a lot of times wake up before my alarm. I didn't get to bed till about 10:30 or 11 last night, so I actually slept in. I got up about 6. But what I found is that, especially when I wake up before the alarm, I'll reach over and the alarm hasn't gone off yet. And I'm like, oh, cool, it's not time to get up yet. And I can just lay there, and there's this luxurious space that feels like there's so much extra time. And, it might only be like 10 minutes before my alarm goes off or something, but it's like this luxurious abundance of time. And I've had plenty of sleep. And that spacing that I've created from going to bed early and, just letting my body receive that 8 hours of sleep has helped me transition that feeling of luxurious abundance and plenty over to other areas of my life, including money, the area of money. And it's just interesting to me how a little tiny change, even just creating just a little bit more space, it was just like a 1 hour difference going to bed an hour earlier at night, gave me that transition, that opportunity to transition so that I could start seeing this luxurious abundance and plenty in all other areas of my life. So I'm just really grateful for the spacing that making a change in our lives creates. Melissa.
I love this idea of space. I thought of holding space for the space between your thoughts and feelings, and how, you think a thought, you feel a feeling, and you feel like it's the circumstance, whatever is happening outside of you that's causing the feeling, but it's really your thoughts. And I'm in a coaching program where I get to hear people be coached, and it's the best thing, because listening to other people talk about, in this case, it was their anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
It's so clear to see why they're having that, that reaction. And I was listening to 2 different people be coached on 2 completely different problems, both of which resulted in anxiety. And it was just so interesting because they were making what they had to do so heavy. It was just such a heavy burden. And then it was causing the anxiety. And when you can put space in between the thought that what you're doing is so heavy and so, like important, but in such a way that you feel like you're not good enough, to rise to the occasion. That space just like, it just gives you space to see your humanness and understand that you're creating it all in your thoughts. Awesome. And that's why you're having such a physical response.
I love that. A couple things that you're sharing are really going along with some of the things that I've been talking with my daughter about. First of all, how powerful that is to see, to watch others, to witness others having that situation, of anxiety and heaviness or whatever, because you're kind of outside of the picture. When you're in it, when it's your heaviness, and you're the one that's feeling the anxiety, because I know my daughter has that. Sometimes, she has that anxiety. And when you're in the middle of it, it's really hard to see. It's like you're saying, is so clear to you how they were making it so heavy, but to them, it's like, this is the only way. And I know I've been there before too. And you just have to take a deep breath, step outside of yourself, and,
right.
See it from a third party perspective so that you can see how heavy you're making it.
Yeah. And when I heard them have their, circumstances and seeing them making it so heavy, I realized exactly where in my life I'm doing the same thing, and it's completely different from theirs, but it's the same concept. So I learned about myself.
I love that. I love that idea. I'm kind of curious about that idea, if that is a truth, or if it's just something that works for you. to not the heavy burden, when you make something heavy burden, that's what creates the anxiety. I'm curious about that. Thank you. We'll go Robert and then Betsy.
Okay. Thank you. So, the first thing that came to my mind was children when they're spaced.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it creates a sanity.
Mm-hmm.
Just, being human. It creates a sanity. But I also thought life is a space between dust and where we go from a thought of creation to being created, which is the space, and then to when we pass from this life into the next is a space of time.
Cool. That space from dust to dust. I love that. Thank you. Awesome.
Yes. Thank you.
Betsy.
So, wow, I really like this. I like the music aspect, the pleasure in the pause. And then I went into, breath, and that you have the space of inhaling and then exhaling. You can hold your breath. You can, in Hawaii, they talk about ha is the breath of life. And that, as a new child, the first thing they want the new child to do when a baby is born is breathe. And, there's just so much power in the pause. And then I went into the spacing of honoring ourselves and the space we have between each other, and that it's okay, that there's boundaries, that we are temples, our homes are temples, our family are temples, and respect the space, like a healthy distance. It's okay, like the okayness of taking a step back, that we can still be together side by side. We just don't have to be intermixed and on top of each other and exactly like someone else, and that there's okay to have walking the same path side by side rather than in front or behind each other. And the spacing, and really just the exhaling of letting go, and I guess the okayness of space, and the breath, the exhaling. I remember an answer to prayer that I've shared before, right before a huge and scary surgery, back when I had cancer, was the answer to the prayer of my fears and will I survive, was inhale strength and exhale fear. And that small phrase has been so beautiful, because you don't think of inhaling an emotion and inhaling, strength or joy, or, now when I laugh in joy. And there's so many things in space that you get to decide how to fill that space.
Beautiful. I love that. I want to go back to something you said about, I don't think you said it specifically this way, but this is the way I've pictured it, was that our bodies are temples. And I really, from what you're saying about inhaling strength and exhaling fear, and honoring and respecting the things that you bring into that temple. Because if you think about an actual physical temple that is built to worship God, and that there are certain things that are allowed into the temple, and you wouldn't allow evil or darkness or anything that was disrespectful or whatever into that temple, because it's built to honor God. And our bodies are temples, and how powerful that is to inhale and receive words and foods and whatever it is that we bring into that temple, that only those things that are in alignment with that feeling of worship and respect for this wonderful gift that we've been given.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's really just taking that pause, that space, taking a step back and deciding, what will my next breath be? What will that mean?
making a conscious choice of what we bring in too. That's kind of what I
To
received
that
from
space.
what you
Yeah,
shared.
yeah. Mhm.
Thank you. We had Deep Tea, and then Laura, and then Mary.
So, going on the lines of what Melissa and you were speaking, what happens is we land up living in our head most of the times. Even I am a part of that. Instead of living in our bodies. And then what happens is when we are stuck in the head, we make simple things complicated and really burden ourselves. And that's been really pounding me like the whole of December about uh, uh how I just overwork myself with my own thoughts. And that has really been the theme of me just from the hustle bustle of my own complications and my own thinking to just take that rest and pause and leaving some space for spirit to move. If we keep living in our heads, we are not allowing spirit to guide us, or to we just not giving it any space to move within us, or receive. We are not in the receiving mode. And this has been on my head from December, and that is what I am entering 2021 with. I am just going to be a butterfly, not in the I know butterfly is always associated with transformation, but the butterfly I mean is how light a being it is. It just flutters through life, and it is moving in that wave and ride of life. So lightness of being is what I'm going to move into as we shift on Jan 1st. And yeah, that's what I wanted to share.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. And that lightness of being, I compare the caterpillar to the butterfly and how much more light and easy to move from one thing to the next, like the spirit, like you're talking, moving, and also light in the other connotation of the word, where it's light, as in the light from God, and lightness, brightness. Also, thank you. I love that.
And we just have to ride the wave of life rather than forcibly trying to get to something. Like, we have to allow the spirit to move for us to move with the flow of life.
Beautiful. Thank you. I was going to type in the chat, but I'm just going to say it because it'll be faster. Welcome, Julia. And just wanted to let you know what we're focusing on today, gratitude for spacing. Thanks. And anyone, who is late to the call, please do come, because there's always lots that you can learn, even if you're here just in the last few minutes. So thank you for being here. We've got Laura, and then Mary, and I think I saw Tyree unmute. So I've got you written down, and Aubrey. So I'll call on you as you come. Laura.
Well, the theme of space and spacing is really, really great for me today. 'Cause one thing that I've noticed perpetually is that I get depleted, and then I'm not able to serve at the same capacity, right? So then I have to take time off to recharge. So it's that time, it's the space. But I think to myself, Jesus didn't have to take a whole bunch of time constantly, and so how do I recharge? How do we recharge? How do I recharge without having to take quite so much time to recharge and be at my utmost effectiveness? And not that I'm, saying I should never take time off or whatever, but I'm just saying that, when what is it that, what is it that can give me the same experience that time, right, gives me? And I'm thinking it's space. So with that, you knew that's where I was going. So
I was hoping that's where you're going.
Yeah. And so, this question has been in my mind, right? And so then coming into this idea of spacing, I think that it is space in the mind. So when I'm going through my day, and I might not be the only one, that's why I share this, I if I've got things that are, that I'm working on, I don't really let them go in between.
Yep.
And so if I can learn to let them go, and not really like even learn, 50% of any problem solved is recognizing what the problem actually is. And so, in recognizing this, if I just put that intention, put that, that new creation out into the world, that I let things go in between, then the space will be there. And I won't need this trigger in my mind, the positive, in a sense, trigger that I have to take time off in order to have space to recharge. See? So anyway, it's that mental space.
I think that's, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Everything that you're saying is so true and so perfect and so powerful, because I used to be the exact same way. And sometimes I still battle myself a little bit with that, because I love what I do. And the same with you, you're so passionate about what you do.
Yeah.
And whenever I would take vacation, I would be like, I'm going to take some time off. But basically, it was just time to catch up. So I was still working. I was still doing. I was still, focused on those things in my business or whatever I was creating. And so then when I would get back in, I still didn't feel, that complete recharge like you're talking about. But what I have noticed is that if I can, it's like, I think it was Albert Einstein that said that he would he would put the question out there and then he would go take a nap, or maybe it was Thomas Edison. I can't remember. But anyway, that it's the space where the answers come. And, Jesus is a perfect example of that. He never got depleted. Everything that he did was, there was space in everything that he did. And he never took on the burdens of anybody else. He was always just inviting and asking questions. And so he was just walking through life and just, dropping blessings, wherever he went, but it was never in a way that depleted him, that heaviness Melissa was talking about. Yeah, we could go off. This could be a whole nother subject that we could talk about forever, but I think this has created a lot of really good things to ponder. Okay, we've got Mary and then Tyree and I think Aubrey unmuted as well. Thanks, Laura.
Yeah. Okay, so the other day I went back to the store to try to find a couple things that I thought, no, I don't need to get those. But I decided I wanted to go. And so I was kind of not frantically looking, but intentionally looking. And then I while I was doing it, I thought, just slow down, just pull back. And what the words came to me is just let it come to you. There was just a space of let it come to you. And I, reminded myself as I was looking all over the place, slowly, in between people. That's one of the reasons I just wanted to get out of the store, because too many people, but not enough space in between everybody. So I was grateful for the spacing of my steps. Not just in that situation, but just the spacing of my steps, for the space between my successes, the space between the lessons I'm learning, and the space that another thing I thought of was the spacing of things in my house, because I'm very much, they can't just be cluttered together. I think things have to be spaced a certain space between each thing, or pictures on a wall. I mean, even if you've got a lot of stuff on the wall, they have to be spaced just right. There has to be spacing for everything to be in harmony or alignment. And those are some of the things that I thought of. And to this, my breathing. I notice that my breathing, I've got to space it and be steady with it, and notice if I'm just holding my breath or if I'm spacing my breath and in a more flowing manner.
Awesome.
Anyway, some of the things I thought of.
Yeah, thank you. And I just want to comment on, everybody's different feeling of what feels like the right spacing, because for some people they love crowds. For other people it's like, oh, there's too many people. And, for some people they love like a room that is completely packed with furniture and all of their, travel souvenirs and memorabilia and everything all around them. And for other people, it's better to have that packed away very neatly in a closet, so just honoring yourself and what feels right for your spacing.
I will have to add that, speaking of closet, I took out some bins and went, wow, I love that. I'm going to keep them out because I love open spaces.
Me too. I love that. Thank you. Tammy commented in the chat, I saw my journey here on earth as being a fun, playful obstacle course per se. And there really is no time with God, but the obstacles or experiences are spaced so perfectly, and I can let go of the concept of time. As long as I am consciously moving forward on my journey, I'm good. God is in the spaces, right? I think that is a really powerful thought to kind of ponder on, that, when we're thinking about this spacing, that we are moving from one thing to the next. Obstacle course, sounds fun. So when we say one obstacle to the next, it's not like a hard thing. It's just moving from one experience to the next. But God's in the middle of those spaces, and he's there with us in the obstacles too, and the experiences. But I just love the idea of that, of him being there in the spaces between our experiences. Laura says, yes, on the soul attunement call last night, we talked about a trip down the river on a canoe, and all of those we live with are in the canoe with us. Laugh out loud. Then life becomes a journey of everyday life, while God will bring us along our path, the journey. Yes. So God kind of guides us along that journey. I'm glad to know that you shared that. Maybe you'll just have to share that link to your recording for our Architecture of Life group, Laura, because I know you mentioned that last week and we didn't have time to share it. So that would be fun to share. Mary, did you have a last thing that you wanted to share before we move on?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Tyree.
I just wanted to share that the space of being apart creates greater joy and satisfaction in being together sometimes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
also that there's the beautiful spacing and variation in music, and sometimes the pause makes the music more powerful. And when I allow space between a situation, something that happens, and my response, then I'm acting in the spirit instead of just reacting reacting in Satan's realm and things like that.
Beautiful. Thank you. I feel like the gift of discernment and just kind of this feeling of intuition really plays into the perfect spacing. Because when you think about music or a pause when someone's speaking, like a dramatic pause if you're watching a movie or something, there's this dramatic pause, and there's a certain amount, there's a perfect spacing that will draw you in and just like help you feel the music or feel what the characters are feeling in the movie or whatever. There's a perfect spacing. And if it gets too long or if it's too short, then it misses the mark. So there is this perfect, and I think it goes back to what Deepti was saying about letting the spirit move you to know what is the perfect spacing. And for all of us, it might be, different. Might be different depending on the situation. Also, for you individually, there's going to be a different, and so it really does fall down to your intuition and your gift of discernment of what is the perfect spacing for me. Aubrey, did you have something?
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. All right. We are going to go ahead and shift over to our permission process. Thank you, everyone, for all these wonderful shares. I can think of people that I want to share this call with. So, and I hope you all, if anybody comes to mind, that you will take the time to share the call when it gets posted. And if you're not sure where to find that, you can always find it on WileenBenson.com/gratitude. There's a link to the archives, or WileenBenson.com/blog. That will take you directly to all the archives, and all the popular platforms, podcast platforms. Just search Wileen Benson, the Daily Gratitude Call, and you'll find it as well. So thank you all for all of your shares. This has been an awesome call. Go ahead and take a deep breath. And just allow yourself that space to breathe, and allow intuition to guide you in that perfect spacing of how long to bring that breath in and to let that breath out. Maybe hold it at the top, or whatever it is that feels like the perfect spacing for you for your breath. And just really connect right now with God. Allow Him to be in this space of breathing. And there's nothing that you need to do right now. So just set aside any thoughts of things that need to be accomplished, what you're going to do next, where you need to be right now. Whatever that is, you're here and you're in this moment, and that's the only place that you need to be. So go ahead and take one more deep breath and just revel in this space, allowing yourself, almost like being on vacation, to maybe even envision yourself laying on a beach, or whatever vacation feels like to you, where you're recharging. Just give yourself that space right now to be on vacation, where nothing else is needed, just to recharge, rejuvenate, bring God into the space, and be open to have some deeper understanding on maybe something that has created some heaviness in your life, that has been a heavy burden for you in this past little while. Just allow yourself to be free from that right now, but knowing that it's over there somewhere, and that in a moment we're going to be addressing that, listening for some new solutions, or a new way to be with regard to this heaviness or heavy burden that you've been carrying. Go ahead and take one more deep breath. And allow yourself to be more aware of that heaviness within you, that heavy burden that you've been carrying. Allow yourself to be aware of it right now, but not feeling it yourself. Seeing it as a third party, that you are seeing it and understanding it, kind of getting a sense of it, maybe taking some measurements of it, just hefting it, to see how heavy this burden really is, but seeing it as something separate from you. And go ahead and take a moment and just maybe even draw a picture of it on your paper, or get a feeling of what it looks like, what it feels like, what color it is, maybe the size of it, the texture of it, if there's some sharp edges on it, whatever that looks like. Go ahead and draw a picture of it, or just get a really good sense of what this looks like, feels like, smells like, tastes like, whatever it is. And again, having that be separate from you, that you can have the choice right now whether you want to carry it. Now that you've actually seen how, what it looks like, what it feels like, how heavy it is, and seeing it from a third party perspective, do you want to strap that on your back again? Do you want to carry that inside your stomach again, or wherever you were feeling that heavy burden? Do you want to put that back inside of you, or carry it on your back? And if not, if you can see that it's not serving you to carry that, then you can give yourself permission to make a different choice. And right now, if you are willing to give yourself permission to make a different choice than carrying that burden, say yes.
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 Awesome. So before we move on to creating something different, I also want to allow you to feel and understand and just see some of the words that might be coming to you about letting go of that burden, of not carrying it. What are some of the limiting beliefs that are surfacing right now as you are considering not carrying that burden? What are the limiting beliefs about letting go of it, not having it? And if those limiting beliefs are not going to serve you, then you can also give yourself permission to let go of those limiting beliefs and to choose something different. And so right now, just go ahead and get in touch with that burden again. And if you have given yourself permission to not carry it, then there needs to be some place or something that creates some sort of transformation, because you can't just take something that is, this thing that you've got on paper, and natural law, there's everything exists, and there you can take a ball of wax and you can melt it down, but it still has similar properties to it. You can take a gas of water that is being evaporated, and you can freeze it and it becomes ice crystals, but there's still properties of water in it. So allow this thing that you've drawn on the paper, that you've envisioned, to become something different, and something different according to what is needed for you. So as in, as I was describing, like if there was a ball of wax and, wow, this wax isn't really serving me, there's nothing that I can really do with it. Well, maybe if I melt it down, I can shape it into something else, and you can create this beautiful wax sculpture. So it may not be serving you in one form, but maybe there's a way that you can allow in this space that we've created, where anything is possible, to make a change, a transformation with this heavy thing that you've been carrying. Allow it to transform before you into something that will serve you. And it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I've got to take this to a silversmith and make it into a whatever. You can, anything is possible in this space. So whatever that heaviness is that you've been carrying, just watch as it is immediately transformed into something useful. And express gratitude once you see what this new thing is, and even let inspiration show you what it is that you need. Maybe you didn't even know consciously what you need. Just allow inspiration to allow that mass to transform into whatever it is that you need in this moment. And now that you have the one thing that you need, what is the one most important thing that you can do today? Now that you have this thing, this heavy burden has been transformed into something useful, something that you absolutely are grateful for and that you needed. What is the one most important thing that you can do today? What's your inspired shortcut? And then take a deep breath and just allow yourself to big smile on your face, and to know that everything is here that you need. And all that's left is we just need 2 or 3 new beliefs, replace that old limiting belief, and that will help you move forward, consciously taking action now that you have this new thing that was a burden before, but now it is actually the thing that has created your freedom. And I know that we probably have people that would like to share. And you're welcome to interrupt me if you are just absolutely have to. But we are at the end of our time. And so I'm just going to go ahead and end our call. But I do want to offer that if anybody needs some extra support, to go to askwylene.com And I would love to have a 15-minute conversation with you. AskWylene.com. It's a free mentoring session. Okay, Mary, you unmuted, so I'm going to let you go ahead and share.
Thanks. About letting go of the burden and not carrying it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't let it go. Because what will I do with the space that's created?
Mm-hmm.
What will I do with the space that's created when I let it go? I'll be vulnerable and unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still working through this. But I allow myself the space needed to create. I'm allowing space to be light and love.
Beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. I know that when something has been so comfortable, even though it's uncomfortable, even though it's heavy, it can be, we make it comfortable for ourselves. There's some reason why we had that burden to start with. It felt safe at some point, and so it served us. And I just love those new beliefs. I'm creating space and creating space to really understand, to be able to create something different, creating space to create something different. Thank you, Mary. Pauline.
I wasn't going to interrupt you. I wasn't going to say anything, but when Mary said that, I thought of the whole time you were describing the burdens, I thought of Christ and his burdens and the little helps that he had and the little knowledge and understanding that he had, and how we can pray for understanding of how to best handle the burdens that we are called to bear and the cross that we are called to lift, and just come to him and focus on him and gain healing and be stronger for the journey.
Beautiful. Thank you. And there was that throughout his whole ministry, he had 12 apostles, right? So he had lots of people to be able to share that burden with him. And to him, it wasn't a burden. It was just part of his, life. It's what he was passionate about doing. But then there was that moment where he was carrying his own cross, where he was taking upon himself the burdens of all of the people of the world. And in that space, that was his to carry. But even there was a time in the crowd when he could not carry his own cross, and somebody from the crowd came and lifted it for him. So we don't ever have to carry our burdens alone. Even Christ didn't have to carry his burden alone. So love you guys. Thank you so much for everything that you've shared. We'll look forward to being back together tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And thank you again, everyone, for your wonderful shares today. Love you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Love you too.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. And I encourage you to tune in every day to the Daily Gratitude Call. And the Daily Gratitude Call happens live every weekday morning. I'd love to have you join. So to find out how to join live, go to my website, wylenebenson.com. Thanks for tuning in.